On today's Of Record, Facebook is down and it's time to panic. Actually, I heard Facebook is back up and everything's good, but we're going to talk Facebook being down. We're going to talk a string of low-quality products flooding the internet just in advance of the holiday season, and Amazon's creepy new robot that will crawl around your house and watch you awkwardly. That and other stories on today's Of Record. Okay, today in the studio, we have Matt back. I mean, it's been a couple weeks since we did a show, right?
I mean, back, yeah, no, it's been a while since we've all been here.
We've had a long summer, early fall at this point.
We did some special episodes, those were good.
Yeah, we did some special episodes. Yeah. The reason we didn't have last week is we had a client we were recording a podcast for. We were in the studio for like 2 straight days, which was fun. We have producer Nick, who is probably not going to get that producer title if the setup doesn't go better the next time. He's probably going to go back to being Key Grip 4.
What does that mean?
I mean, that means you're allowed to like just tighten the screws on stuff.
I apologize.
And pushing the buttons is Helen. Say hello, Helen.
Hello.
I hope you heard that on the mic.
Yeah, I
Helen's
could
pushing the buttons. So big news today is yesterday from about 12:30 to 5:30, Facebook and all Facebook services, including WhatsApp and Instagram, were out, and people lost their mind.
It was really
for several
unpleasant.
hours.
I mean, it was not helpful around here, given how much we do on Facebook in a given day. So, I mean, it certainly didn't make for a pleasant afternoon.
Yeah, we couldn't place ads, but also ads couldn't spend, so clients didn't have their ads deploying, which meant they weren't making money as people were clicking through and buying things.
And of course, Facebook wasn't making money, which was good for at least, I think, a 5% hit to its stock price as of this morning on opening.
Plus, like the whistleblower, I use that in quotation
That's
marks.
true.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I have some thoughts on that I'll share in a minute. Nick, what was your experience of the Instagram outage, which is what it would have been for you?
Since I was at work, I quite literally didn't know it was out until I got home and I saw the memes on Twitter. I did get posted in some unfavorable pictures of me from this weekend on Instagram when I opened Instagram back up, so I was not very happy about that.
But no one saw.
Well, I did. I opened the app and I was like,
what is this? So, the biggest issue...
Was it worldwide or was it just in the U.S.?
Worldwide.
Okay, yeah.
The biggest issue I saw with it is I saw some notes about WhatsApp. In other countries, WhatsApp is a very important communications tool, and that being down was fairly disruptive.
And a communications tool between other countries. And family members in the U.S.
I think it's interesting. Facebook's, that company's, 15, 16 years old now?
Mm-hmm.
This is the biggest outage they've had. That's a long time to go without. We run enough websites. We've run apps. We've built
and
apps.
it wasn't like a part of the experience was providing a glitch, right? Like it was entirely out. Like it was not loading.
Do you buy the story that it was a network setting, that it was like a DNS issue?
So,
because the conspiracy theories were rampant yesterday.
Did you see Jack Dorsey's retweet?
No.
So I guess, I don't know if it was a hacker or what, showed that briefly, like Facebook.com showed as being available in like the Whois database. Like it was available for purchase for like a brief moment.
Do you think they accidentally let their domain expire?
No, I think
that'd be funny. If
I think
Can that happen?
I mean, yeah, it's possible in theory. I think it got hacked because there were a couple things going on there, but Jack Dorsey retweeted and said like, "Oh, how much?"
Yeah. So, but there was a lot of like crazy stuff flying on the internet yesterday. Like that.
Just yesterday.
All the Facebook data was scraped.
The other days are good, but yesterday was kind of a crazy day.
The funny thing about the tech ecosystem is even though Facebook was down, like Twitter was still there to throw some kicks at them while they were on the ground.
Oh, yep. Twitter did really well. They said they like tweeted like, "Hey," and then all these other apps started like responding. Like McDonald's,
welcome everyone.
Yeah, hello, literally everyone. And McDonald's was like, "Hey." WhatsApp was like hello after a long time. People related to Squid Games and they said, congratulations, you made it to the next round.
What the hell is Squid Games?
It's this Korean show, TV show where it's like a Hunger Games type deal. I have not watched it.
Yeah.
But it's
I mean,
like,
you know more than I do, so.
yeah, there's like games, and whoever doesn't win the games, they die.
Oh.
So it's very high stakes, a really family friendly show.
High stakes, family friendly show.
Yeah, it's taken the world by storm. Everyone and their mother has seen it, except me and my mother. But
Korea is crushing it this year.
Parasite.
I mean, just the arts and entertainment coming out of South Korea in the last few years
the
are just
BTS stuff.
BTS,
like
yeah.
music, films.
Is Blackpink Korean?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. I mean, K-pop has really become very commonplace in the last year and a half, which is shocking to me because before that, I didn't know it was even a thing.
Yeah.
I thought Asian music was like not as mainstream in the US, but then it quickly became clear to me like it's popular internationally.
Oh, I mean, hugely popular internationally. I think it's still trying to find its footing in the U.S. Obviously, they have some sort of deal with NBC Universal because they've been pushing it nonstop on Jimmy Fallon's show. For whatever reason, they've decided that like the Jimmy Fallon audience is their market segment because Jimmy Fallon has been the show where not only BTS, but just like they're pumping every K-pop band through to do their appearance right now. So whatever research they have shows that that's their audience.
On the topic of research and bringing us out of the obligatory K-pop rabbit hole we have to go through to increase our search rankings.
Gotcha.
So the Facebook whistleblower, 60 Minutes this Sunday.
I know the headline and nothing else basically about this story.
All right. So what was happening over the last few weeks is there were documents being leaked, Facebook's internal research on the impacts of social media use on people. And it is being covered as if like it is, tobacco or it's an environmental thing where like Facebook knew this was damaging and still allowed it to happen.
Are we going to get like a thank you for liking? Like a thank you for smoking type film with Aaron Eckhart?
What was that Netflix show that came out like a year ago?
Yeah, but that was like a documentary.
Yeah, but it was basically a version of that.
Yeah, but I want like a
actual drama.
Thank You for Smoking was a really good movie.
I have a couple of thoughts on this issue. The first, and this has always been my take on all the coverage of Facebook, is when you are watching media coverage of Facebook, you have to understand that these are rival corporations who are battling each other for the same like bucket of ad dollars, slapping each other.
So how does CBS profit off Facebook?
Well, they don't. They're competitors for ad dollars. So when
if we go spend $1 million with Facebook, that's $1 million less for our client that we don't spend with CBS, right?
Okay.
Yeah, or CBS Viacom and their whole suite.
Yeah.
And so when you see the media covering tech, what you have to understand is the media are very large entertainment and sometimes conglomerate corporations whose main rivals for ad dollars are Google, Facebook, the other tech companies who sell ad. And it's not just ad dollars, right? It's also consumer attention. So every minute you're watching, you're scrolling on Facebook or Instagram is a minute that you're not consuming CBS Viacom content. So there's this rivalry there so that when you see like 60 Minutes talking about Facebook, you should think of this as if like Pepsi were accusing Coke of having too much sugar, right? It's a very similar strategic setup there. Number two is the research Facebook was doing is very common academic research.
It's not even that, right? It's almost like Pepsi accusing Coke of tasting too good.
No, true. Yeah.
Right? Like that's kind of what it is. It's not even of having too much sugar. It's like,
it's too effective.
Yeah, it's too good. Like Coke should not be allowed to taste that good because that makes people like it too much and that makes them fat. Yeah. Right? Like that's kind of the argument.
Yeah.
So can you backtrack and say exactly what the whistleblower?
Yeah. So the whistleblower is releasing these internal Facebook documents where Facebook had people just doing research on they were setting up experiments on how exposure to content impacts attitudes and emotions and feelings and social science research. And in the academic world, it's media theory. So they were doing media theory research to understand what people were responding to and how to adjust the platform to that. So that's first thing is that is not unusual. what is unusual is probably that legacy media never did that research on their own stuff, right? And so it is patently clear that like television has an impact, radio has an impact. Like it's just the legacy media was never as interested in quantifying it because they were never in as competitive an environment as Facebook was for consumer attention. And second, like it's harder to study how TV consumption impacts people unless you have somebody literally sitting in the living room watching them watch TV. With the way you interact with, say, Facebook or Google, Facebook and Google know exactly who you are, exactly what you're clicking, know pretty well what you're watching, what you're streaming over a period of time.
And in most cases, they've worked really hard to prevent you from leaving the platform.
Yeah.
Right. Like they've tried to create the entire experience in platform for you so that you can transact inside the platform,
yes.
right? You can make your purchase, you can watch your video, you can do all the things without leaving the platform.
And that's a reason why they are doing that research, is they are trying to make the platform stickier, right? In the same way, Walmart is trying to figure out how to keep you from buying more stuff from Target or Amazon.
Yeah, which is why Walmart Plus exists.
Yep. Amazon's trying to figure out how to keep you from buying stuff from Target. That is the nature.
I can answer
of
that question for them. It's go back to 2-day Prime shipping.
Yeah,
like
I have an Amazon
Jeffrey
story.
Bezos, like free consulting right there.
Went to space, lost 2-day Prime. And I have an Amazon story.
William Shatner is going to space next week on Blue Origin. Don't know if you saw that headline last night.
Yeah, he's like 90.
He is 90. So,
I mean,
man, 90-year-olds going to space.
Captain Kirk just
he
crushing
might disintegrate, leaving the atmosphere.
Parts of him are 90.
Good point. Let's finish Facebook first before we move on. So we have like, me doing the podcast of record, and then Matt and Nick going off on like the daytime talk show angles on things.
Give the people what they want.
Give the people what they want.
Gen Z right here.
Today on Windy. That's the name of daytime talk show, right? Wendy?
Wendy Williams?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I am working during the day, Nicholas, so I don't watch a lot of daytime
but
television.
I still make my time to watch my Wendy. I mean,
are you TiVoing that, or how do you watch it?
TiVo.
I mean, she's on TikTok, but like people on TikTok, she's like a meme. She is the moment on TikTok. So
interesting.
Yeah.
I learned so much about media and culture. Look, I think this Facebook
podcast
thing, it's a continuation of Facebook's poor strategy after the 2016 election. After the 2016 election, Facebook never should have apologized or backed down from anything. They should have said, Facebook is a platform for people to communicate. We are happy to enforce the law. When it's broken, we're happy to cooperate with authorities.
One thing that does seems to have changed is Facebook doesn't seem to be rolling out these grand Mark Zuckerberg apologies anymore the way they used to, right? They don't seem to be like, rolling him out for this apology tour the way they would the things because they didn't work.
Because like the people running Facebook were culturally so out of touch with what was good. They thought because they were on the progressive left that if they took responsibility, they would be left alone.
Yeah.
What they did not realize is, one, they wouldn't be left alone because what they ended up doing is just feeding two rival pieces. One is the kind of the socialist wing of the Democrats who don't like them because they're big. And then also they ended up feeding like their corporate rivals and the East Coast media scene.
Sure.
And the East Coast media scene is far more impactful on how politicians think than the West Coast like tech media scene is. Yeah. So like they made I wish we could go back in these podcasts and like look it up, because you and I had this discussion how bad of a strategy that was for Facebook at the time, that they were negotiating away key parts of their business. They've been negotiating away key parts of their business for years now. And where they've landed is I got a little notice in Facebook ads yesterday or 2 days ago, and it was like helping you navigate change. And it was Facebook saying, pixels essentially are working less and less. We estimate ads are roughly 15% less effective, but we actually can't tell. We think we're probably grossly under measuring performance, and we're working on that. And here's how to mitigate it. So Facebook, in a period of about 4 years, has degraded their own business because they wouldn't defend open speech on the platform. Just say we're going to enforce the law. If Congress wants it, pass a law. And then Two, they didn't defend their advertisers. On the advertising stuff, the angle should have always been Facebook enables smaller business. Facebook enables minority-owned business. Facebook enables local business to be on the same footing to reach the same audiences as the biggest corporations in the country. Like, and they didn't, they kind of edged into that a little bit in the iOS 14.5 debate, but it was too late. And so a lot of Facebook's problems right now aren't a result of Facebook doing shady things that any other corporation isn't engaged in. It's the result of Facebook not
It's just
defending
basic
their
poor
business.
decision making, right? It's just basic, like, made the wrong call at some point.
So why should we
The right
care?
call is always defend your business.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, right? But like, it's not like
Other people will attack your business. You don't have to attack your own business.
But it's not about Cambridge Analytica. It's not about conspiracies.
Which never works, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not about all this other bullshit. Like, it's about like just making a poor decision to like actually defend your business and your customers, who, by the way, are not your users.
Yeah.
They're your advertisers. Like, defending them staunchly.
Yeah. So, Nick, your question, why should anybody care?
Yeah.
In marketing and advertising world, there's arguably nothing more powerful for scaling up a business than Facebook and Instagram ads. Like, and this may end up being a historical high point, that the most effective advertising
At any
products-
spending level. At any spending level.
The most effective advertising product ever created, and that may ever exist, was the Facebook ads platform between probably
2011 to 2017.
17.
Yeah, I was going to say like 15, but I mean, even those 15 to 17 years, you still got that good return.
Yeah. Well, the prices were much lower then.
Correct.
But what's happened is the technology underlying the platform has started to degrade so much over the past 2 years that it's just not what it used to be. It's both more expensive and less effective than it was previously.
Yep.
And that's why, from a marketing advertising perspective, you should care, unless you work for a very large company. If you work for, an Association of National Advertisers member, Facebook was probably always an inconvenience for you, because it's much easier just to go spend $50 million with a big TV network and just place your TV or place your radio and, let that be your game.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Like Facebook and Google were always to the benefit of smaller advertisers. All right. So any other thoughts on Facebook before we move to TikTok?
Did you guys see that video of the guy asking the Facebook something? It was a woman. It was a representative or a legislator or something. And he was asking her, will you delete Finsta? Will you delete Finsta? And he didn't understand that a Finsta is a type of account that teenagers make.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just want to say that's really, it shocks me every day more and more how out of touch this like older wave of, was it a congressman? What was it?
What you were looking at probably a Senate hearing from yesterday? Is that what it was?
It was from last week.
I didn't see this.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
It was a gentleman. He was asking the woman, will she delete Finsta? Will she commit to deleting Finstas? And she was like, you don't understand that a Finsta is like a fake Instagram. It's an account that teenagers make to like make their audience more.
What did he think Finsta was?
He thought it was like a type of account that it was an account, like an
Mm-hmm.
actual platform that kids used, and he thought that kids were up to no good on it. Which on some Finstas they are, but like he was just so out of touch with the fact of what a Finsta was, and the lady kept trying to like explain and nothing. And
we should probably move them with their auntie and uncle in Bel Air.
Yeah.
If they're up to no good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
I don't think Nick gets that.
I do. Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Okay.
I mean,
all
come on.
right.
I mean, come on. Don't underestimate me.
You'll see that all the time. One of the things when you watch these hearings, and it's getting better than it was 3 or 4 years ago, but you're just dealing, especially in the Senate, with people who don't necessarily understand the technology that that they're regulating or the use cases on it. Speaking of technology and emerging platforms, this was from last week. TikTok announced that it surpassed 1 billion users monthly and unveiled 3 major marketing and customization tools. One, a new series of creative solutions so you can make more creative on the platform. 2, It's a service that allows brands to find influencers and match with them through the platform based on what those influencers are talking about.
That's really cool.
Yep. It's called Creator Marketplace.
Instagram should have built this
Yep.
7
I think they tried
years
and
ago.
could just never get it launched. And then the third thing is a more stringent inventory filter that lets advertisers have greater control over the content their ads play next to. So those are the 3 big pushes TikTok is making to pull in brands. I think it's going to be very effective. I think this is an 18 to 24 month runway that TikTok is on. They're going to end up being they'll probably fall into the 4th position in the next year below Amazon. So it'll be Google, Facebook, Amazon, TikTok in terms of digital ad spend. And I think what is going to end up oddly protecting TikTok is TikTok's way of approaching ad targeting are like interest networks, very niche interest networks, and not necessarily sociographic or demographic characteristics, because they can use the interests as the proxies for those. And we talked about this on a recent episode. It was like the dark academic and the light academic and the e-boy and the e-girl.
I'm primarily focused on like getting my, TikTok dances right, because that's been a challenge for me. So bear with me. I think this is interesting. Also, we've talked about this. I've made this point several times on the podcast about why TikTok is so interesting to me, why it's different than other platforms. And the biggest reason it's different than other platforms is the discovery component. Most other platforms, you only see content from people you've opted in to see content from. And on TikTok, you see content from such a wide range of other users. I also think that's important from an advertising perspective, because it makes you much less likely to notice that you're seeing an ad.
Yeah.
When you're not seeing a curated feed that's only your friends and people you've opted into,
you're used to seeing new stuff.
You're used to seeing content from pages that you don't recognize. And so often, if it's a well-done piece of TikTok content, I could be halfway through the video before realizing that it's actually a piece of sponsored content. Looking down, I mean, they very clearly label it. It's not that they're trying to be deceptive or hide it, but if it's a well-done piece of content, you actually don't notice until, depending on where your eye flow goes within the app, to see that it's a sponsored post. And I think that's a really interesting piece of the story here that is, again, unique from some of the other social media apps that have ad platforms.
Let me ask you a question about that TikTok recommendation algorithm. Is it effective? Because it happens to be so simple and so elegant that it's not actually taking into consideration a whole lot of data to train the algorithm? Or is the algorithm actually being trained by a great deal more data than anybody realizes through the access being given to other apps on the phone?
That's a really good question. And I don't know. I feel like most of the stuff that I feel like it's giving me from good content is because of other content I've interacted with, right? Like, I feel like it's because of videos that I watched for a longer period of time or liked or interacted with. I don't feel like early on it did a very good job at all of giving me content that I was interested in. And in fact, it took a couple of rounds after downloading the app before I started using it regularly. It sat on my phone for a little while because the first few times I used it, it was not very good at giving me interesting content. I don't know actually how complex the algorithm is. It may just be very good at picking up on the fact that, oh, you watched this video for more than 10 seconds. He likes that.
And here's what other people who watched this video liked. Yeah.
And that's a pretty simple, algorithm from a technical perspective.
So, like, maybe the insight there is just that the other tech companies are taking into consideration like hundreds or thousands of pieces of data points that actually confuse the recommendation beyond what needs to happen for the content to be relevant and interesting.
But back to Matt's main point is
you still need targeting data, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, you still have to have targeting data.
You need to also have really good organic content, as well as the ads need to be good. They can't just be like a very...
So we're not talking about ads. We're talking about how does the platform do the recommendation of like content that you would see overall.
Right, but what I'm saying is, once you get recommended the ad, a lot of time, if I see something that says sponsored at the bottom of the TikTok feed, and it's not something that catches my eye immediately, I just scroll. So in addition to the AI and all that stuff that kind of collects all the information that feeds it to you on your For You page, the content also has to be good. So I think it's a two-way street. It's not only the algorithm that does its job, it's also the marketing advertising teams that make those ads. So you can't put it all on the research and on the targeting, because there's a lot to say about the creativity that people have to put into these ads to.
But remember, we're not talking about the ads.
The research?
No,
we're just talking about the platform
we're talking
as
about
a whole.
How the platform does recommendation of content, which is
just like
independent of the ads.
as you as a user, right? Like, how does it decide what it's going to put in front of you?
But I agree that the creative matters on TikTok maybe more than the creative matters on any of the other platforms at this point. Because
I think it matters more on TikTok.
I agree,
No, I mean,
because if it's going to fail, it's going to fail harder on TikTok than it's going to fail just about anywhere else.
And the TikTok genre of content is very specific and unique to TikTok.
And weird, right?
And weird.
It's weird.
When you think of YouTube ads, like, it's the gamut works on YouTube.
Yeah.
Something somebody filmed on their iPhone versus a full-on, like, Super Bowl quality ad works on YouTube.
And most other platforms at this point, right? I mean, even if only because they're a little bit more mature, but you think about Facebook or Instagram, you can do a static graphic, you can do a GIF, pick your pronunciation, and then hate me later, I don't care. You can do a video, right? Like, you could do an audiogram video. I mean, you have different options for content. Like TikTok, you are doing a vertical video, and that is it. Like, they've recently introduced some options for like longer length, right? And you have filters that can make it custom and do some stuff. But like, you are shooting a vertical video.
The key insight of TikTok about consumer behavior may simply be that by making everything simpler, the platform became more powerful.
I completely agree. Yeah.
And
I mean, if you make the choice for people and reduce some of that decision fatigue and say you're going to do it this way, people actually like that.
And that Google, Facebook, Insta, Snap all
overcomplicated
got too complex. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, the lightest lift is TikTok, even if it's the most odd.
So what's the audio app that has already come and gone?
Clubhouse?
Yeah, Clubhouse.
Hey, I remember that was a big deal.
Yeah. Was it ever a big deal?
Oh, yeah. It was
for like 2
4
weeks.
or 5 weeks.
Yeah, it got all its PR hits. And then, I mean, it's still around, but I think it missed its chance probably to get a serious acquisition. It got its offer. It rejected it.
Yeah, they should have taken that Twitter deal or the Spotify deal.
Yeah, its best option probably now is to have its tech, adapted into somebody else's platform. But, I mean, the onboarding experience for that, I think, was one of the biggest things that hurt it. Like, there was just no good way to find new content.
Super rough.
And then you got like 50 notifications for like garbage audio chats that you didn't want to be a part of based on like it recommending that you follow all its founders.
Yeah.
Like, cool.
Yeah. So I want to move us on before we hit time here, because my thinking is that actually the holiday shopping season this year started September 1st.
Yeah. I mean, people have been pushing it because of the logistics issues.
Traditionally, most retailers would look at Q4 October 1st as kind of the launch. I think we're going to have this situation where before Thanksgiving, 50% of the holiday shopping has been done this year.
Yeah.
And that is largely being driven, I think, by the massive adoption we saw over the last year and a half to online shopping.
Yep.
I think it's retailers trying to pre-position in front of each other. So a couple of stories that I wanted to point out that I think are interesting on this. And we should probably do our annual holiday shopping selling episode.
Obviously.
Where we talk about, maybe we do that next week when everybody's back in. So out of CNBC, Amazon Inc. said it will add new Black Friday worthy, that's a quote, deals to produce to products across channels every day as retailers work to attract early holiday shoppers. It also launched a new feature in its app that allows Prime users to send gifts using just the recipient's phone number. By the way, genius idea.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. They already have all the information to make it happen.
So
Send physical gifts or like e-gifts?
So instead of having to get someone's address, if you just have their phone number and they're another Prime member,
Amazon already
knows their
its
address.
address. It'll just send it to them.
So if you wanted to send me a GIF, you put in my phone number, and like you don't have to ask me for my address.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it knows Joe's address. It'll just send him a
Genius
That's genius
idea.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Now look, I'm not sure this is as genius as that new little creepy robot that Amazon's selling that rolls around your house.
I signed up for the waiting list.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I'm not sure after all the stories like about the horror stories now that I'm going to actually fulfill it when it comes
when that little thing
time.
rolls up next to your
I
bed.
didn't put my credit card in for anything. I just put my name on the waiting list.
Yep.
So I'm not committed to order one.
What does the little robot do?
Well, when
Joe,
when you and your wife turn in for the evening, the little robot rolls up next to your bed and just looks at you creepily.
And then it falls down the stairs.
Falls down the stairs. Well, it's designed to be. It's like an Alexa with. It's like an.
It's partnership with Ring, right?
Is it?
Yeah, it's partnership with Ring.
Amazon owns Ring.
Yeah.
So it's like an Alexa View.
But like specifically, it's made for home security. Is my point.
So it rolls around your house, just recording things. It's like a Roomba with a camera on it, and it's got a little weird face.
You see, it
looks a little bit like Rosie from the Jetsons.
Yeah.
Do you see that reference?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a misopportunity.
Helen, do you get the reference? Okay. Helen's got.
It's only a matter of time till that thing rolls around playing you commercials.
Well, I was gonna say it's a missed opportunity. It could also be.
Well, it's gonna be like a Kindle where you can pay to upgrade to have the commercials go away.
It could have a Roomba attached. It could have an actual Alexa to play music attached. But instead, it's just like a little robot that records stuff.
God,
no, it has all that. Like it can do all those things.
It can Roomba too.
Oh no, it doesn't do vacuuming, but it has like it can play music and do all that.
Oh, that's obnoxious.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't have to, but like it has a screen, so you can say like hey weird robot, play music.
That one of the most brilliant things I think ever put on Netflix was the Love, Death, Robots. There's 2 seasons of it. It's these little short animated kind of like sci-fi fantasy things, and one of the episodes is this old lady that lives in like a retirement community, and her like home security cleaning robot goes nuts and tries to kill her. So that's what I thought about when I saw the Amazon Astro.
I mean, there's a lot of great like video game subplots devoted to this.
Whenever I hear about robots just in a home, I think of that the Will Smith movie with the robots. iRobot is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just I feel like it's always going to end bad. And I'm very tech forward, but I don't know, something about robots in your home that move around.
I think about that Will Smith movie. What is it? Wild Wild West.
When I strolled into the Wild Wild West.
Over the head.
I mean, it should be that.
I know the song. I just don't know
like
the
that.
movie.
That movie had a big week in like 1998, and that was it.
With what's the other dude's name? Kevin Kline? Is that his name?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything.
Helen's shaking her head. She gets all these references. I don't know why, but she does.
So the next story. We're gonna play that for Nick later. Nick has it up. He found it.
Oh, it has Salma Hayek.
The Wild Wild West.
I like Salma Hayek.
It had a very notable
Wild
theme
West.
song, like title track.
There was nothing better than when you got the combo of Will Smith starring in your movie and doing the title track for your album, right?
That
you got
happened a couple times.
Yeah, the
didn't it?
Men in Black,
yeah.
man, Wild Wild West. Like that was ultimate.
Yeah.
Men in Black is one of the best movies. I think it stands, honestly, as Will Smith's best movie.
This podcast goes some weird places now.
So,
it's interesting though. I like it.
Men in Black or this podcast?
This podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Men in Black too. It's definitely not one of the
Men in Black 2?
stand all time test.
No, he just likes Men in Black as well.
But Men in Black 2 is also very good. I mean,
great.
Just the trilogy. I'm sorry.
Trilogy. Yeah,
one of the all-time
the
epic
MIB
trilogies.
multiverse is grossly underrated.
Yeah, one of the all-time epic trilogies for sure.
So out of the Jeff Bezos post, a flood is Washington Post.
I got the reference. Yeah,
a flood of unknown products is making online shopping impossible. Mysterious brands are flooding shopping sites and with social media ads, making it difficult to tell the real from the low quality. This is not new.
I was about to say, like, this is a headline from 2021, or
yeah, from like this week. So you've probably noticed if you go on Amazon and type in anything generic, there's like 100 brands you've never heard of at the top of it. And it's the same thing, social media. If you're into anything, there's always generic kind of knockoff brands.
Yeah. The Alibaba flip game, baby.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is the bizarre shopping, the bizarrification of internet shopping, where like you have these knockoffs, you have these kind of rip-offs. Like,
in most cases, you literally have the same product with a different like
label
brand,
on it,
adhesive stamp on it.
And so what listeners may not realize is that Alibaba to Amazon flip. So Alibaba is a service that lets you buy bulk product.
It's wholesale Amazon.
Wholesale Amazon, straight from the factory in China. And then you can buy it and then put your own label on it and sell it. And
it's a little more complex. Like you have to do some negotiation directly with the factory, but it's still done inside of a platform that's kind of like Amazon, but you have to like kind of chat with the factory representative. So it's not as easy as like, I want 100 of these. You have to find a factory that's
responsive and negotiate your samples and your shipping. And it's you're right. It's not as simple as Amazon,
but it's usually a really good experience. Yeah.
We've bought plenty of stuff on there
and always had a great vendor experience. Never once have we had someone that like didn't fulfill their end of the deal.
And so to give you an example of what this looks like is for a couple of years, Matt and I have kicked around the idea of starting like a Christmas store, like a seasonal pop-up Christmas store.
Don't tell them the idea.
Maybe someone will be like, hey, I want to invest in that.
Okay, maybe tell them.
I mean, we're not the only people who've thought of like starting a seasonal pop-up Christmas store.
Just like there's no special part to it. It's just a Christmas store.
Well, this is a whole side thing. There's a whole reason we think there's market demand that's unmet there. You don't need to worry about that for the purposes of this, neither the listeners. But to give you the example of Christmas trees.
But we can schedule a meeting later if you're
artificial Christmas trees. If you went to, say, Target today to buy a 8-foot pre-lit artificial Christmas tree, what are you going to be in? A $1.50?
Maybe even $1.20 if you get it this early, or if you wait till after Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah.
But probably peak, definitely over 100.
Sure.
If you're going for that nice higher entry, you might be in the 200 raise.
More. 300.
300?
Really expensive.
Yeah, if you're getting the nice ones at Home Depot and you're going for like a 9 or 10 foot like pre-lit like fancy one, you could easily be in the 300 or 400 range.
Do you remember your research on if we committed to buying 50? I think they were 10-foot pre-lit trees, what the cost per tree was?
I think we could get it down to like $25.
Yeah, it was like $25
per tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, per tree. But you got to buy 50.
I got to order in bulk. I mean, these things are going on a container ship from like Sichuan province, China, and coming over to the port of Los Angeles.
The game would be you figure out how to buy Christmas trees at $25, and then you can sell them for $125.
Mm-hmm.
And you see versions of this on Amazon for everything and on social media for everything. Pick your category, and that's pretty much what's going on.
Yeah.
Now, what it does is it does make things confusing to consumers. You cannot tell which is a good generic and which is just a cheap, flabby knockoff.
And the reality is they're all probably the same original wholesale product at the end of the day. There's probably only like 5 wholesale brands.
Yeah.
That just have some different parts on them that make them look slightly different, right? They slap some different plastic pieces on them because they used a different like end manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then the second thing you run into,
you can't order one for $25, Nick.
Can't order one. is you run into this issue of like
I know what you're probably looking at. You can't order one for $25.
Well, I'm on DHgate right now because that's where I go to buy all my knockoff Louis Vuitton, Gucci, and stuff. Just because it's $10 for like a wallet, like a fake Louis Vuitton wallet, and it's not good quality, but it gives the image.
Your house is getting raided tonight.
Gives the image. So it makes it really hard to find one of the premier brands, and so I think there's a couple. One is these marketplaces, so Amazon or eBay. You kind of pick your marketplace has this issue where they need to be able to show they have these top quality brands at the top of the search because it gives the marketplace credibility. If you go to the marketplace and search and nothing you recognize shows up, that delegitimizes the entire marketplace.
Correct.
2, it makes it hard for the consumers to be found by the brands and the brands to find the consumers. And so it actually pushes brands off platform and to just push their own stuff to their own website.
Yes. Especially with the ease of setting up very straightforward e-commerce stores now, right? So the brands that, have avoided their own e-commerce packages for the past 3 decades can now have a Shopify store up and running in 4 hours with less than $1,000 out of pocket, and partner with FedEx or UPS and be done.
But so can ding ding chargers.
Yeah, exactly.
So Matt, is there a solution to this, or is this just a phase of internet retail that we're going to cycle through?
Well, I mean, the interesting thing I think we're about to see is what happens now that it's really tough to get shipping containers across the Pacific Ocean, right? Like, we're not even going to be able to get Christmas gifts here in time. In some cases, we expect. So if you decided to order, 4 pallets of phone chargers today, I'm not actually sure when you would be able to get those here in order to distribute them to your US-based customers.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of trickle-down logistics issues right now. You would probably end up paying 4 times more for the shipping rate for those chargers than you actually paid for the products themselves.
And I did see a story of big retailers locking in their shipping
Home
prices.
Depot has already
at very
contracted
high
a
rates.
fleet.
Yeah.
I think Walmart has contracted a fleet.
At very high rates, though.
Correct.
That's the important piece here. So this is
But
gonna be
they
a
locked in the
significant
boats,
cost driver.
right?
Yeah.
Like, they have those boats locked in for the season that they can get
It's
things
actually
across
more.
the
I
ocean.
think they had to commit. Some of these contracts are committed for 4 years.
Yeah.
So why are they contracting boats? What's the hard part about across the Pacific Ocean? Is it just because of COVID, supply chain?
A lot of
issues.
supply chain issues. A lot of it's driven by labor.
Okay.
Yep.
Are other countries facing the same labor shortage that the U.S. is facing?
It's not as
currently?
big of a deal for a lot of other countries because the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative works both incoming and outgoing from China. So if you're in Europe, the Middle East, basically anywhere but North or South America, you can still get stuff over land via rail or via truck.
Okay.
But here we are, trying to get stuff across the ocean,
Which is very large.
which is very large.
But so do you see
Meanwhile, the Chinese would like us to open up the Arctic
come over the top?
so they can come over the top.
That's kind of genius.
No, it's not awesome.
It's happened before.
Yeah.
But
It's not awesome for security and strategic and national defense purposes. It would be great for shipping times. It's not awesome for a multitude of other reasons, including negotiations with Russia and NATO allies in
I can see Russia from my
Europe
house.
and a whole other. But anyways,
Do you
this
see
is
a
not that
solution?
podcast.
Do you see a solution for this inundation by kind of generic unknown brands?
It depends on the sector, right? I think it has made it really interesting for items like fashion, right? I think it has skyrocketed value for things like Nike and Adidas. They are probably selling more of their products on their websites than they ever have before, because it is just such a hodgepodge of crap.
How does Amazon fix it for Amazon, though?
I don't know how Amazon fixes it, right? But Adidas just launched a new program a couple months ago for people that shop exclusively on adidas.com. That's like a creator pass, and they launched it originally if you were an influencer online, and then I guess because I bought a specific kind of shoes, I got included in the program. But a part of being included in the program gave you a 25% unlimited discount code at adidas.com for 60 days worth of usage, right? So I mean, they are aggressively competing with Amazon, and if you go to Amazon and try to find Adidas shoes, you're going to get this entry that's only for this size, and this entry that has 5 sizes, and this entry that has 2 colors, and this entry that's only men's in this color.
It's all resellers.
It's a freaking hodgepodge of crap.
So
and you're going to get markups or maybe not markups. You're not going to end up saving that much money. You have no idea when the shipping's going to get there. I ordered from Adidas.
Let me
I
ask
saved
you
money.
this question.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Does Amazon actually want this? Because Amazon owns 150 of its own brands, including Amazon Basics being the most notable.
I don't know that they need to solve the problem of being the prime retailer of stuff like Nike shoes and Adidas shoes
Is it
anymore.
just enough that there's a bunch of noise and then an Amazon Basics.
Yeah.
And all the consumers just like, I don't know what these are. I'm just going to get the Amazon Basics.
Now
'cause
that there's
it's
enough
decent.
Amazon brands out there and they do so many other things, it might be enough that they give you your like subscribe and save paper towels and your toilet paper, and then you order your chargers and like
And
you
Amazon
pick up,
doesn't even need the big brands at
like
all.
well, I mean, they're also not making a huge like markup on that transaction either, right? Like when you're buying the like Nike sneakers via Amazon and it's gone through like 3 vendors, like that is not the highest markup
the
transaction
future
for
of-
Amazon.
is
That's
the
not their
future of
thing.
Amazon that you go to Amazon to buy Amazon things
Yes.
and books.
How is there any other industry that has mirrored this sort of issue? In the
Well, I mean,
past?
that's Amazon becoming Trader Joe's,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Yep.
which is like, but you know, Amazon will have a bunch of fluff, a bunch of things you don't recognize in your query search, unless it's like a piece of media, like a book or a movie or something. And then you'll recognize, like, oh, Amazon Basics. I'll buy that one because I recognize it.
Yep.
And in doing so, like Amazon still is allowing third-party sellers, which makes Amazon look non-monopolistic. But the reality is, like, it's not very great to be a brand selling on Amazon because of the cost and difficulty involved in being discovered. And it's good for Amazon to have all these unknown brands and then the Amazon brand, which is trusted.
So, but same reason why in a grocery store, the grocery store actually sets very specific negotiations with brands and manufacturers about where those products are going to be placed on the shelves for that reason exactly, because they don't want to have to worry about competing with Publix brand sugar right next to, you know, Dixie Crystal's brand sugar or Domino brand sugar, right? Like that's a problem. So like part of the negotiations of I'm going to sell this in your store at this price is you have to put it at this place on the shelf.
Right.
Or if you're not willing to, then I'm going to change the price to be this per unit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not really something that happens for resellers on the Amazon platform. They don't get that opportunity.
Yep.
That's very interesting stuff.
Anything else before we close out?
No, I think it was an interesting episode.
All right. Want to take us out?
Yep. As always, we appreciate you joining us today. If you like today's episode, whether watching or listening, jump either on your favorite podcast app of choice, leave a rating or review, helps more people discover the show, or right here in YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. We don't have a lot of subscribers. We'd like the next one to be you. Be really nice. Look at the puppy dog eyes. Yeah. Either way, we'll be back next week. I'm trying. I want subscribers.
You're doing like the feed the children
Yeah.
sales, like for just $1 a day.
Can you please do like a soundboard hit, like a
For just $1 a day,
Hell-
you too can support.
Anyways, we'll be back next week with the latest in marketing, advertising, culture, and whatever the hell we feel like talking about. Thanks for joining us this week. This has been the podcast of record. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Nicely done. Started Sunday Night Football by these motherfuckers and saying where they went to college. Tom Brady, University of Michigan. That motherfucker hasn't been to the University of Michigan in this millennium. Don't tell me to the party.
Now's a good time to say it's been recording. I'm that good. This news is something that Matt got.
Are you sure?
I don't know that you should say I'm that good.
Babushka.
I don't know if you guys know this, but Matt did a really good job with the autopilot. That's an extra layer of confidence, Nick, that I don't know that I'm ready for this morning. Oh, maybe everything wasn't checked properly before you sat down, Nick. I don't know. You're muted.
Okay.
Babushka.
Now it should work.
Babushka. There we go.
Oh yeah, that's good. Hello.
It's not the hero we need. He's the hero we deserve.
Fuck everyone.
We got the babushka.
Oh!
Clicking the buttons. Producer Helen.
I like 'em big. I like 'em chunky. Why am I not in focus?
Who's gonna be working the stingers? Can't do a sound check with the person whose voice you're not using. This podcast is brought to you by LaCroix. It's called LaCroix, Matt. It says it right on the can. It says LaCroix. LaCroix. Tastes like half-chewed bubblegum. Sometimes my voice is very loud. Wait, is it recording?
Yeah, it's been recording.
Are we sure?
Yep.
Huh?
You see how it says rec? That's short for recording.
I don't know what any of this shit means, to be honest with you. If you've never had sex before, it's the show for you. That's a lot of weed, bro.
You guys want to hear my Jennifer Coolidge impression?
Who's Jennifer Coolidge?
Oh my God. You look like the 4th of July. Green.
Yes!
So I was watching this show on Netflix. It's a brand new show. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called Seinfeld.
Motherfucker. LaCroix. I'm just going to narrate this like it's a low-quality fiction book. Matt's fingers worked along to the control board as he attempted to dial in the voices of his co-host. Matt's frustration continued to grow as Nick continued to make noises that no one in the room welcomed. Yeah, she's in two Girls, One Cupcake, or whatever that CBS show was.
Excuse me? Excuse me?
What's that? Two Broke Girls.
Yeah, she is.
She's in Two Broke Girls.
2 Girls, 1 Cupcake.
Let's try that again. At last, the podcast was ready to begin.